Hello, my name is Leah, and I'm here to teach you a few things about the Progressive Era. First of all, what is the Progressive Era? The Progressive Era is a period of widespread social activism and political reform that spread across the United States between the 1890s and the 1920s. This first started to take off in 1902 when Samuel S. McClure, a magazine owner, sent out his editor, Lincoln Steffens, to find out what was happening in the world that they had not yet put in their newspaper. Steffens and Attorney General Joseph Folk really dug deep and uncovered corruption within businessmen and politicians. The type of writing began to spread through America, and more people began to write about government labor unions, big businesses, Wall Street, healthcare, the food industry, child labor, and women's rights. Theodore Roosevelt later created the term muckrakers to describe the writers who made a practice of exposing the corruption of public and prominent figures. At the start of the 1900s, our economy grew and unemployment dropped, which showed the first signs of growth within our country. In 1895, there was only a total of 4 cars in the nation. But thanks to our good friend Henry Ford, by 1917 there were nearly 5 million. In 1913, Ford created the first moving assembly line for his car, the Model T. This process lowered the amount of time it would take to make a car from 12 hours to 2 hours. This process was adapted by many companies and created even more jobs. Since there were so many jobs, they helped fill the space with women and children. More than 5 million women worked, and 20% of children between the ages of 5 and 15 held full-time jobs. The women made $7 or less a week and were expected to buy their own needles, thread, chairs, and even had to pay for the electricity in their workplace. Also, women were continuously hounded by men to quit their jobs because it could strip them of their modest demeanor. As businesses expanded, immigration soared between 1901 and 1910. Nearly 8.8 million immigrants entered the U.S. 6 days a week, 9 hours a day, people would stand at their place in line, doing their jobs, and it soon became very monotonous, which was extremely dangerous because workers would just not be paying attention and accidentally cut off their fingers or their hands. Upton Sinclair, the author of The Jungle, wrote about a slaughterhouse he had visited where the conditions were absolutely filthy and workers would accidentally cut off their fingers and it would fall into the food and get mixed in with packaged meat. Strikes became very common due to assembly lines, speed-ups, long hours, and low pay. In the meatpack industry in Chicago, there was 251 strikes in 1903 alone. Some business leaders used violence and police action to keep workers in line. On January 5, 1914, Ford took another significant step by announcing the $5 day. He lowered the workday from 9 hours to 8 hours and increased wages, and eventually the work week fell from 60 hours to 51 hours in 1920. The progress we made in every aspect of our lives in the early 1900s is exactly why we call it the Progressive Era. In this upcoming election in 2020, there are plenty of people who perceive themselves as progressive. But which one of them is the best choice? When someone is progressive, it means they want to see more economic and social equality. The person I believe would be the best president is Democratic candidate John Hickenlooper. He was the former geologist whose signature issues revolve around the expansion of Medicare, gun control, and gay rights. People like him are going to move our country in a positive direction, and soon we will progress. Thank you all for listening.